All right, guys, and welcome to the second ever draft recap given directly to you by Joe. Now, just in case you forgot what you guys were all playing for, trying to take from me, richest prize in the game right here. It's going to have to make an appearance with that. With that said, I want to say that I had a great time at the draft with all you guys. Those who are on the group chat, I'm pretty sure you got a good sentiment of what I felt. Of a lot of good shit talking also. Just all in all, it was a great experience. I'm glad it all came together. I'm glad everybody was there. Some of you guys have some pretty shitty things to say about my team, but just like Jorge said a couple years ago, Joe's the one playing Monopoly. He knows all the rules, and you guys are just playing poker. You know what I mean? So you got a problem with my team, so be it. Just try to beat me when you get the chance. That's all I can say to you guys. I'll give you a slight recap of what I was doing a little later as I go through each of the 12 teams. Let me break down the format first off. What I plan to do is look each team one by one. So there's going to be slight editing parts where I plan to insert after each team like a little black screen with white. You know, the most basic thing. I'm not a video editor. I don't know how to do this shit. I'm actually going to download the program or try something. So that's not my forte at all. With that said, I'm going to try to give you my best, the best picks, the worst picks, things that I like, things that I didn't like. An overall idea of what I think of your team, if it's, you know, and try to give a ranking at the end of this, saying 1 through 12, but and maybe give like an A, a B, a C, you know, try to do that. Last year, for the guys who were in the league, I wrote it out, but that would take way too much time, and I just, you know, I got to rest for work, and that's not going to happen. I mean, the introduction already has taken me 3 minutes almost. So with that said, I want to go back to, you know, just the basics, you know, see where your team's strong. You know, if you're strong in steals, you're strong in runs, home runs, like Alexa's team, strong in home runs. Just, you know, minor thing. Try to look at the overall draft where I think you got to steal. Obviously, you're going to get a sense of where I think certain players are. People already know how I feel about Starlin Castro, Elvis Andrus, Miguel Sano. Like, I have, you know, strong feelings about them. So there's going to be certain biases. So I'm definitely gonna have, you know, I'm gonna show those and what I say and the way I speak and in my grading. So if you have a problem with that, obviously we're not gonna all like the same people. But this is for the league. This is a league I love. This is why I love it. And if you don't like it, you kiss my ass. So with that, we're gonna get started. And I'm gonna start with the first team after this short little edit. All right, so first off on the list, we're going to go to the team with the number 1 pick. And that would be Jorge's team, Eastbound Down, Kenny Powers. Now, last year, for those of you who weren't in the league, Jorge had probably the worst draft I've ever seen. And I thought he couldn't do any worse. Well, it turns out he can. With that said, his team couldn't have opposite ends of the spectrum. He has probably the worst offense in the league, but probably the best pitching staff in the league. So when you look at that, you know, I don't know what the hell he's doing. In terms of looking at his whole offense, just aside from Trout, I didn't like the value. Some picks I seriously don't understand. I don't know why he drafted Asdrubal Cabrera at all. I'm surprised he took Domingo Santana. He's in love with Jay Bruce. Every year he has him. He loves Billy Hamilton, who probably won't even start the season because he's still hurt. And he just has a lot of question marks up and down this lineup aside from Trout, and it's just really bad. As for his strategy and pitching, I really did like that. I thought he got an amazing value getting Scherzer and Sale at the turn. Definitely has some A-plus pitchers, and I like how he mixed upside into it. When you have aces, you have 3 aces. You have Scherzer, Sale, Kluber, and he mixed the high upside guys in there with Ventura, Walker, Rodon, whatever. A lot of good pitchers. Even Velasquez is a high upside kind of guy, and he has there's pretty solid closers with Familia, Ramos, and Smith if he gets the job. But with that said, man, your offense can't. I just don't see it. I see this offense doing absolutely nothing. I mean, your second best hitter is Troy Tulowitzki, and we don't even know what he is. I think he's a 250 hitter. I think he's a shell of him for himself, especially in Toronto, even with those runs and RBIs. Looking at the draft that you had, like I said, I like the value you got with Scherzer and Sale in the late second round. Kluber falling to the 5th round was a steal, an absolute steal. I think you were a little high on Tulo, but that's where he's going. I think you absolutely reached for Franco when you had so many other players on the board. I mean, Adrian Beltre was still there. And I absolutely value, I like Franco as a player. I think he's a good sleeper. But if you're taking him around 6, you reach way too much. He was going in the 10th round in most drafts. Anything past 8 is an absolute reach for even a high upside guy like that. I think you took Rendon, the second baseman on Washington, well, the third baseman on Washington. I think you reached way too early on him too, for a guy who's only had one good year. I mean, we don't know where he's at. I mean, it could turn out to be a value for you, but for a guy with that much injury concern, and we know he's really brittle, I think you really put a lot of faith into him. And then you continue that trend when you draft Lucas Duda in the 8th round. I just have no idea what you were thinking. Those 3 picks back to back to back. You had such a great start. You just threw it all away when you drafted those 3 players, and it really killed your draft. Hamilton in the 11th isn't a bad pick because he could win you stolen bases every week, but we know the guy can't steal first, and he can't hit. He hits more fly balls than ground balls, and he's a speedy guy. It makes no sense. I'm pretty much off the Hamilton bandwagon, so that's a sense of what you get. I think you got value with Mesoraco. I think your upside pitchers, they were taken where they belong. I think you actually did well in terms of the pitching. I think you got a good upside. I think you got good value on most of your picks. But just hitting wise, man, you fell apart. You really dropped the ball hitting. I mean, there were so many guys that I value over all the players that you took that I just don't know what strategy we're going for. Aside from power, you have decent pop, but other than that, you don't really have much. You're probably going to finish last in the league in average. On bases, that's a variable. You can't really determine week to week. But unless you plan to win every pitching category every week, you're going to have to find a way to get some of these hitting categories every week, because I really just don't see it. Even with Hamilton, there are a lot of teams out there this year with speed on their rosters, and you just didn't do enough, I feel, on offense to offset that great pitching staff. I think you'll win maybe 4 or 5 or 6 categories a week with pitching, but you're just not going to get it done on hitting. You're going to get annihilated unless you make some good moves. I mean, your fascination with these low average, high power guys, man, it's killing you because you didn't even get the best ones. And as for your worst pick, I mean, I like Franco, but I think the Duda pick was that takes the cake. Taking him in the 8th round, no, he should never went earlier than 11. I think you missed out on a lot of good players at that time. I mean, there was so much good talent there already that, I mean, Hanley Ramirez is going to play first. That's a guy I would rather have at first base than Duda. Jacoby Ellsbury was still on the board. Hunter Pence was on the board. I mean, there was so many good guys. You could have waited to Moreland. I think Moreland's a really comparable player and a better lineup. And just did not like that pick. As for your best pick, I do like the Mesoraco pick. I think that's a great value. You got him in the 14th round. You probably could have waited a little longer, but I have no problem with where you took him. I think you did a great pick up there. I think he could be a top 3 catcher. I think you're the pitching you got Scherzer late second, pretty much a 3rd round pick, and you got Sale, so you got an amazing turn right there. Great value where you got him, and you just have a pretty bad team. But if I was to give you a draft analysis, a total overall grade, I'd probably give you a C+, maybe a C+. I just don't think you did enough on offense. and I don't think you're going to be able to compete with some of these teams that are stacked on offense that I'm going to recap a little later. And but pitching wise, I think you have the best staff in the league, so take that compliment and run with it. And I just think you, if you play the waiver wire correctly, I think you have a good chance to maybe make the playoffs with that pitching staff. So that's your recap. If you have anything to say about it, let me know. I'm sure you disagree with some things, but I'm sure you agree with most. But overall, it was good to have the draft. It was a rough spot to be in the first pick, but aside from Trout, just didn't do it for me. All right, next. All right, fellas, continuing on, we're going to look at the team with the number 2 pick. That is Will Santana, who has Who's Harper's Barber. Really unique name there. With that said, I think the first team that I did was bad, and I think this team continues that trend for sure. I do not like this team at all, on offense or pitching, to be honest. And I don't think we have a contender for somebody who had the worst draft. Any team with Stephen Vogt as the first baseman, you blew it, buddy. You blew it. I do not like most of the players on this team aside from Harper and Valencia in terms of the hitters. Not a fan of Frazier or Desmond. I think there's too many reaches here. Carlos Gonzalez, the one on Colorado. I don't think he could repeat what he did last year, considering how great a year he had. I mean, he had like 30-something home runs over a right-handed pitcher. That's not going to happen this year. Even in Colorado, when there's always the chance he'll get traded. With that, Kemp's a solid sleeper. I think he got solid value on him. I would not have drafted Steven Souza, no matter his 2020 upside. There's a chance he might not play, and there's a chance he'll hit 210. There's a strong chance. I just don't understand the Soler pick. Even if it's an upside pick, there's no way he's playing in that outfield barring an injury or numerous injuries. Let's go to the pitching. Arrieta, the second pitcher taken off the board, definitely surprised me. Most people are high on Scherzer, but I'm a big Arrieta fan, so I have no problem with that. Lester pick, I have no problem with. The Drew Smyly, where he was taken, I'll talk about that a little later. Did not like the value. I like him as a pitcher. I don't think he's a third starter on any team in this league. In terms of the league value, I just don't like that pick. I don't like 2 of his closers. Not a Francisco Rodriguez fan at all. I think he's old. I don't know how he gets by and does it. And definitely Ziegler. I mean, they have nobody else, but I mean, he's not that good. I don't see him keeping that job for much longer. He's just there because they don't have anybody else, and that's how Arizona runs their team. Absolutely hate Jordan Zimmerman. I think he's a crappy pitcher. I mean, he couldn't get the Phillies out. I alluded to that on the group chat last night. I mean, this guy couldn't even pitch well in Washington against the lowly NL East. You really expect him to go to a murderer's row where you have teams like Kansas City, Chicago, and Cleveland. Not so much Cleveland. And go over there in the AL Central and actually do well. I do not see it. And I just don't like most of the draft. Let's go into the actual draft that he had. Frazier in the 3rd round. I don't think I would have taken him there. I think he's a 4th round pick at best in this league. I mean, you took him over guys like Matt Harvey. You took him over Charlie Blackmon. Took him over George Springer. Chris Davis was still on the board, and you're taking a guy like Frazier. I just don't see it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't see it. But then you came back and you took Carlos Gonzalez. I mean, that's the value he's at, but I still don't like that pick. I think you got a solid value in Dozier. I mean, it fits the profile with your team. Other than that, I don't really have a problem. I think you took Kemp a little early. I think he should have been a 10th round pick, but that's not here nor there. I think he's a solid player. I absolutely hate the Smyly and Zimmerman picks. I think there were much better players going off the board at that time. I mean, if you look at it, Corey Dickerson was on the board. I mean, Chat Liriano was still on the board. Garrett Richards, who I think could compete for a Cy Young this year. Just did not like those picks where they was. I would have taken Raziel Iglesias over both of them, to be honest. I think there's more upside in him. As these guys, you kind of know what they are, and they're just not that good. Ian Desmond in the 11th, I think you absolutely reached. I mean, we could go on and on about this draft. I mean, I just don't see it. You took Vogt in the 15th. That was actually one of your values picks. Souza in the 11th. That's way too early, in my opinion. Just looking at it, you had Justin Turner on the board. I mean, you had a bunch of players that was still. I mean, the outfielders were drying up for sure, but I just did not like that Souza pick at all. I feel like there are a bunch of players on free agency right now that are actually better than him. And as you go later in the draft, I think you made some good high upside pick. I didn't like your last pick overall, but we'll throw that one away because it is your last pick, and you're trying to reach for upside at that point. But when you look at the overall makeup of this team, man, I just don't know where you're going to compete. I mean, I do not see a playoff spot in your future. No matter how many teams, if it was 8, if we were even going to 8, you wouldn't. I just don't see it. Offensively, man, you're going to be challenged. You're going to rely on Harper too much, and I just don't think he's going to get it done. Your best deal guy is Souza. It's like you're punting steals almost. Just all around. I mean, you have solid pop all around the board. You don't have anybody that's going to project it for under 10 home runs, so I give you that. But this team just isn't there. I mean, you guys strike out way too much. I just do not like this offense whatsoever. Your second, I mean, your infield alone, I really don't like. And then the pitch, and aside from Arrieta, I mean, I think you're going to struggle as well. I mean, you're going to be one of the higher ERAs. Staffs out there. I mean, I just don't know what you're expecting from Smiley, Buchholz, McHugh, Nola. I don't know what you're expecting from those guys, but 3.7 ERA every week isn't going to get it done. I think you're going to have to do more. Can't rely on one starter to get it done. I just do not like this team. If I was to give a best value pick in terms of who I really enjoyed, really like that you drafted, I think it would probably be Stephen Vogt in 15th. I think he's a top 5 catcher, but with that, you're not using him at catcher. So I got to do something. You have to make a move or something. You're going to really have to work free agency. And I don't even know where to start in terms of bad picks. I'm going to have to choose a plethora of them. The Desmond in the 11th, probably Smiley in the 9th. I just do not see that. Like I said, you had a bunch of better pitchers, I think, out there. Tanaka was still out there. Waka was still out there. The list goes on and on, man. The list goes on and on. Iglesias was out there. Pineda was out there. Iwakuma was out there. Some people consider him an ace. Matz was out there. Verlander. Some people love Verlander this year. Taijuan Walker and Ventura were out there. There's so many guys I would have taken over Smiley at that point, and Zimmerman, and it's just, we'll just use that combo as the thing that I hated the most. In terms of overall grade, I'm going to have to give you a D, man. No hard feelings, but just do not like this team up and down. I think you're going to be a bottom dweller, a cellar dweller, to say the least, and you're going to be you're going to have to pull some magic out of the hat tonight for this league. So with that said, we're going to go to the next team. Good luck to you, Will. Nothing against you, just do not like your draft. All right, now we're on to the next team, which is Ari's team, which is the Jersey True Yorkers. I actually like this draft, especially considering we think Ari doesn't know nothing about baseball, but this is a guy that finished second last year to me in the league, so definitely a contender, stepping up, and I think he had a solid all-around draft. At the third pick, I love the boldness, man. I love that you picked Clayton Kershaw. I might have done it myself. Definitely called it. I saw your draft strategy from a mile away, but I absolutely love the pick. I love what you did in the second round as well when you took Abreu as late as you did. Just awesome picks going off. Looking at this offense, man, I like the Real Muto as your catcher. Definitely a fan of his. The infield's a little shaky, but I definitely do think it has some upside in there. And your outfield is totally it's one of the best I've seen. It's definitely one of my favorites. Led by Marte, Jones, Revere, and Yelich. I think you have a bunch of high upside guys there, in consistency, a good balance, so to speak. And that Pilar pick wasn't even bad in itself. Your bench has some upside, and I like that Jose Reyes pick when you got him. Definitely, if he's only missing a couple games, I mean, we don't know, there's a big variable there, but he comes back. I mean, then you have 2 shortstops. You have some trade bait, and I think there's a lot of teams out there looking for shortstops, myself amongst them. In terms of pitcher, you followed a beautiful strategy, one that I've implemented the last 3-4 years, where you punt the saves and you go straight for the starters. I think you have a great 1-2 with Kershaw, Keuchel, and 1-2-3. Kershaw, Keuchel, and Archer. Great pickup. You went with a couple of Sparps, starting pitchers, relief pitchers, Sparps, with Fister and Roark. I like those picks. Continue your strategy and where you got them. Great picks. And you have some upside. I love the Corbin pick. A lot of people, some people are out on him. I'm a fan of Corbin's. Waka, I'm not as much as a fan, but I like the value where you got him. Heaney has a high upside. Rodriguez will start the season, I believe, on the DL, but when he comes back, he may be a big factor. I actually like this team, maybe because I do implement that strategy and I know what it's about, but I think you did a solid job doing it this year. And I'm glad one person's trying it out. In terms of the overall draft that you had, I mentioned the two earlier picks that I love. Your first two picks, Marte in the third, another great pick. Keuchel, Archer, great value on Archer in the fifth round. I think there was a lot of it was a weird draft. I'm sure everybody agree with that if they watch this. A lot of pitchers didn't go in the first two rounds, and then there was this run. It was just a crazy run over the next 3-4 rounds where all the good pitchers were gone. Some people claimed it was good pitching late, but I think you need to get an ace to solidify, and I think you got 3 aces for sure. With that said, I love the Adam Jones in the 6th round. Great value for a guy that's been going in the 2nd round, 1st round consistently. I think you reached on Lindor. Not reached so much, but I just didn't like the pick. I'm not a fan of Lindor. But where you got him, I think, I'm not a fan of it. But I definitely see why you did it. I have no problem with it whatsoever, considering where you look at Bogarts, where he went, and I'm pretty sure Seager went before him. I'm looking for him. I don't see. Yeah, Seager went well before him. So you got a good value on that. So I can't hate that pick. Rivera, I would have definitely taken him if he would have came to me. So I definitely like that pick as well. Yelich, I think he has a amazing upside this year. Last year, I think he had due to injury that he had, kind of held him back. But I like the Yelich pick. Colton Wong could have a rebound. I think he kind of reached on him. There were a lot of good short second basemen still out there. I mean, I took Pedroia personally. I think Pedroia is a great player. I think he's actually Robinson Cano. If you look at the numbers and the comparisons, I don't think they're that far off as players. Colton Wong, I think that's a reach. That was the only reach. I have no problem with the Waka pick, the Pilar pick. Not a fan of Byung-Ho Park. I'll tell you right now, I don't think he's going to last. I don't think he's the next Jose Abreu by any means. I don't think he's Jung-Ho Kang. I don't think he's that good. I think he's going to strike out at 40%. It's not going to get it done for me, but it's upside. We don't know, so I can't fault you on that pick. I think you might have reached on Realmuto a little too early. He would have been toward the back end of my, but I have no problem with where you took him. I think you got an absolute steal in Corbin in the 16th. That's a crime. Where other pitchers were going, I mean, if we talk about the Zimmerman went way before that. I just don't understand the other picks. I mean, Rodon, Walker, and Ventura, I think he belongs in that class. And these guys went 3-4 rounds earlier. So great pick on Corbin. I think that's going to be your value pick. Forsythe, Castellanos, just overall, amazing value you got all around, especially toward the back end of the draft. If I give you a grade on it, I'm going to give you about I'm going to say B plus A minus. Definitely a big fan of your draft, considering the values you got in the players. I think you have a solid team to compete again. And if you stream a starter or two, I think you're going to be definitely in contention every week. Right now, I think you're primed for a playoff spot. Just, as of right now, obviously, things are going to, change exponentially once we start the season. But I definitely like what you did. I think you got amazing value with the Corbin pick. Even Duffy that late, just all around. I mean, I love this draft up and down. If I give you a reach, I couldn't. Probably Colton Wong. I mean, that's pushing it. Considering you can't really fault yourself for taking a second baseman, a guy that was high upside last year, post-type sleeper, so to speak. But I definitely like your draft. Good job, Ari. On to the next. All right, boys, continuing on to the fourth pick, Team Valdez by Darwinson Valdez. Excuse me. Sorry, Darwinson. Welcome back to the league. It's good to see that you have your own team. It shows that you were the brain behind Antonio's team last year, the one that he got all the credit for. I absolutely love your offense and the analysis that I saw you were projected #1 overall, not the one on ESPN, but another one that I looked at. It had you as the #1 team overall, so kudos to you, sir. This offense is one that I absolutely love. I'm going to label it right now the best offense in the league, bar none. Just from my analysis right now, I could tell you I absolutely love the McCann pick. I love the Goldschmidt. I love your infield. Minus having Murphy at third base, I think he would have been better suited to you at second base. But I'm pretty sure you can find a good third baseman out there. I mean, he's still a solid player. He's a high average kind of guy. I love all the picks that you made so far. Not a fan of Castro, but where you got him, considering how dry that pool was, knowing myself as somebody who drafted shortstop with one of the later picks, I definitely could appreciate that you took him. He could have a major back bounce year in New York, even though you know I can't stand him as a player, most of you guys. I definitely do even like that pick where you got him. Freeman, where you got him, awesome pick as an infielder. Your outfield is completely stacked, man. I love the Brantley pick. Up and down, I probably would have took him if he would have fell to me, but where you got him was perfect value. I felt you got a great deal on that one too. Hayward's a high kind of ceiling, high basement guy. Definitely, you know what you're going to get with him, and you got Pollock pretty late in the draft too. We'll talk about that more. Grichuk, you're going for, I like the other St. Louis outfielder more, but Grichuk could be, he's your fourth outfielder. Definitely a value pick. Some guys, have him as their third outfielder, so. And your later picks with Eaton, Rodriguez, and Semien to back up Castro, definitely love those. The offense up and down, just a good balance all around. I think you might be a little bit lacking in speed, but definitely an all-around balanced offense. I love this offense. As for the pitch, and I also don't have too many quarrels with it, so to speak. You have your ace, Tanaka. Whether or not you consider him an ace, that's up to you. I don't, but he has the potential to be there. And I think your relievers are pretty solid. I don't like the Azuna pick, but that's nitpicking, to say the least. I don't like the Casilla pick either, but he is the closer right now. I think Storen's going to be the closer. That's why I don't like the Azuna pick. But I love the Perkins and Britton pick. I think those are two of the top 10 guys in relievers. So awesome job getting them. I think you're going to compete in saves. You're going to probably win saves most week when you're not playing me, for sure. Picks that I love the Chen pick going to the NL East to go into the bigger ballpark, even though they moved the fences in Miami. DeSclafani, a lot of people hiring him. I'm not crazy about him, but you know what? I know a lot of people are hiring him, so great pick where you got him. Servino, Hughes for a bounce back. Just pretty awesome, all around awesome. Looking at the values you got, Goldschmidt with the fourth is a value in itself. Not many people, that he did fall to you and you jump right on it. You took it. Pollock, where you got him in the second. Many people thought he might have been toward the back end of the first, maybe a second, early second. But definitely good job taking him where you did. I mean, I didn't see Votto going before Pollock. I didn't see Pollock falling that late, so great job. You picked Mad Bum, pretty solid, And Cano in the fourth round, I would have taken probably Cano there. I have no problem with that value. I still think he has a lot left in the tank. He's a good player. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Hayward was projected. Freeman in the sixth, no problem. If his wrist comes back, I'm a little iffy about the wrist, but no problem where you took him. Bradley, an absolute steal in the seventh round. He's the third, second-round player. Definitely a steal where you got him. Eaton probably a little high, but considering where your outfield is already, where you had him, great job. Britton in the ninth, no problem. McCann in the 10th, no problem with that. Tanaka, Grichuk, I have no problem with this. Where you took Murphy, I definitely like it. I think he kind of fell. People, I thought people would have been higher on him considering his postseason last year and what he did to affect his swing. So I definitely like that pick in the 13th. Maybe you took Hughes a little early, but you made up for that pick with Severino. I would have took Severino before Hughes, but I think Hughes could have a bounce back. And Perkins in the 17th is absolute steal. I think he's going to be the closer, and he was a top, before he got hurt, he was a top, probably like a top 5 closer last year before he got hurt. Just absolutely loved your later picks. Semien to back up Castro, too, is a good pick. So overall, I think you had a solid draft. If I'm going to give you, in terms of most value, I'd choose between Brantley and probably Severino and Perkins pick. Honestly, all three of those, I absolutely love where you got them. I think you got amazing value, especially toward the back end. I think you solidified, your shortstop position with two guys that could definitely compete. You could interchange, and if one doesn't, you just drop one, so to speak. If there's a pick I probably don't like, it is I think you might have took Eaton too early. I kind of think you're banking on the upside a little more than the consistency. He still has a high basement, but I don't think his power potential is going to go much. But he is projected for 100 runs, and not many people are. So I definitely don't have a problem with it. I mean, it's hard to find flaws in your draft. If I could, I mean, there's just not much. Maybe the Hughes pick, honestly, maybe the Hughes. But that's nitpicking. I don't want to nitpick too much. I absolutely love your draft. I'm gonna give you an A. I don't want to hide nothing. I don't want to be a hater. Definitely love the draft. I mean, you're projected to win the league. If it was a roto league, obviously that's how it goes. That's how these standards are done. But I could see you definitely being a contender and probably one of my main challengers. So excellent job, man. If there's That's about it, man. Honestly, I just looking at this roster, I like it. I like what you did with the fourth pick overall. I think you had a solid draft, man. Keep up the good work. I know you're the brains behind the operation in the team last year. So good job, man. Kudos to you. Let's go to the next one. All right, so we're here with the fifth team preview, and it's going to be Gus's team, which is the Riverdale Red Eyes. When I look at this team, I see a lot of good things. I see a team that would look a lot like my team. It actually really does when you look at the actual projected overall standings. Aside from the pitching, of course, that I'm the only one with my strategy. We know that. I think he got some crap that he didn't deserve for the Francisco Cervelli at his catcher position. I have no problem with that, considering where he took him. Definitely like his team up and down. His infield is pretty much stacked. I mean, I have a little concern with the LeMahieu pick, where you're paying for a career year for sure, but other than that, no real problems. I love the Machado. He did tell me he was not going to take Ketel Marte, his younger brother, but he definitely did. So Gus, calling you out on your stuff, man. You're a big liar, man. You snaked him for me, and I think you took him too early at that. But definitely took him right out, right. Took the rug right out from underneath me. Outfield wise, I see a lot of 15-15 potential with Polanco, Gardner, Span if he comes back healthy. Maben definitely if he comes back healthy too. We know he's a little hurt right now. But I definitely do like this team. You have Fielder at your D, at your util spot, so definitely I think you have an advantage there. But probably wouldn't have done it myself. I'll go more into that later, as you have Teixeira as your first baseman, as your infielder. So that's not a bad pick either, considering where you got him. I absolutely love your starting rotation and relievers. Your whole pitching staff is really great. I consider you have 2 to 3 aces. I'll say 3. I'll give Cueto the ace. I've never liked him, but if he comes back healthy, he's pitching in a great ballpark now, with a great defense behind him as well, and a great team, and an easier, bigger ballparks out there aside from Colorado in the NOS. But I definitely like the Harvey, Carrasco, Cueto trio, and I think you have a lot of high upside guys toward the back end. I mean, Hamill, absolutely love him. I had him last year. Definitely love him. I think the injury just set him back a little bit last year, and I think he's going to come back strong this year. I absolutely love Tyson Ross, Kyle Hendricks, up and down. A lot of people love him in the industry. Same thing with Robbie Ray. A lot of high upside guys that you could just dump if they don't pan out. So just if they pan out for you, I mean, there's definitely a chance that you have the second best or the best rotation, bar none, considering what Jorge's team has. But and the relievers, I love the Melanson, Rondon, Tolleson trio. I mean, definitely. You killed it. Most weeks you win on most categories in pitching. So kudos to you. When we go to the actual analysis of the draft, you started the fireworks for sure with the Machado pick. I know we spoke about that you like Machado. I definitely would have taken him probably 5 or 6 if I had that pick. So I have no quarrels with it whatsoever. I absolutely love it. It's a 2020 guy. I mean, with a chance for 25 with steals and power. I mean, I just love that. Joey Votto, one of my long-term favorites, you already know. The only pick I may have is the fielder pick. We don't know if he's going to get first base eligibility. He might not. You don't know when he's going to get it, if he gets it. And to get him in the 4th round, I know that's where some people were taking him, but I think they're taking that ADP is based on him being a first baseman, and I think you overpaid for him a little bit. That might be nitpicking. I know I use that word a lot, but you gotta analyze every aspect of the draft, and that's the one I don't like. No problem with Carrasco at 5, great value. Polanco in the 6th, you're paying for the upside, man. I think you really reached, considering what was still on the board. You had Brantley, you had Safe. Even if he comes back and he's not even 100% with the shoulder injury, I still think he's better than Polanco any day of the week. I'm looking. Adam Jones was taken right after. I mean, man, I just do not see it. Adam Eaton, Ben Revere. I mean, Matt Kemp was still on the board, man. I'm just looking at, naming a few names. Just do not see why you took him so early. I think you definitely could have gotten him late. I think you reached on that one. I understand that you like him a lot, but hey. Cueto, no problem where you got him. Ross, no problem. LeMahieu in the 9th. That's another one I think I told you I did not like. Shortstop, I mean, second base is deep, for sure. And I know I compare a lot of players to Dustin Pedroia, but I think Dustin Pedroia is the top 5 second baseman. That's just what I think. Considering where you got him, I think Neil Walker is solid. Addison Russell, and these guys went 2 to 3 rounds later than them. So I think you need to look at that LeMahieu pick. I think you definitely reached on that one. Love the Melanson, Rondon at the 2nd, 3rd. Gardner, where you got him. Marte at the 13th. I'm going to have to eat your lunch for that, man. I just do not like that pick. I would have had him in the 20th round. That's where I had him going. I just don't see why you took him so damn early. I know shortstop isn't there, but you're paying for upside. You're paying for speed. He ain't going to do much in the home runs, and we just don't know how he's still young, how that's going to translate. And I think you just shot your load early with that one, to metaphorically put it. I love the span in the 15th, though. You definitely ripped the rug right out from underneath me on that one. Took him right under my nose. I probably would have took him instead of Gerardo Parra at that pick. So I absolutely love that pick. I love the Tolson pick. Hendricks, where you got him. You got great value late with Teixeira, Hernandez, Hamill, Cervelli, Maben, and Ray. I love your late round, which you worked some good magic there. So in terms of best value, I'm going to have to give you the value pick on Span, who I absolutely love, but even getting Tolson where you did very late. Hamill in the 20th is absolute steal. And if I have to eat your lunch, I'm going to eat your lunch over your middle infield picks with Marte and LeMahieu. I think you reached way too early for guys that just aren't where they should have been drafted. That's all. But other than that, man, I absolutely love your team. You're projected 3rd in the standings that I'm looking at, right behind myself at Darwin sitting 1st. I think you have a solid all-around team. I think your pitching staff is top-notch. And I think your offense is in the mold of my offense. High on base, kind of average on base guys who steal bases and don't strike out so much. So I definitely like that. I'm gonna give you a B plus, A minus, kind of more toward the B plus, just because of those 2 picks where you reached a little early. I thought you could have waited on, but no quarrels at all with this draft. That's a good draft, man. I wish you the best of luck this season. I'll probably see you in the playoffs. All right, now we have reached our 6th draft recap, and that is Alexis's team. That is the Compton Mets, a team which I do not like that much. What a surprise from the guy who doesn't know anything about baseball. When I look at this team, I'm not really blown away by it. I probably wouldn't take Stanton with the 6 picks. Let's just look at it that way. He has a solid outfield when we're looking in terms of hitting. I definitely like the upside late where he got on Buxton. He took Miguel Sano. So in terms of hitters, he definitely has the most power up and down his entire lineup. So give the guy that. He'll probably win runs, homers, and RBIs on most night. But he absolutely punted steals, it looks like. I don't see much in the way of steals aside from Charlie Blackmon and Byron Buxton, unless he's going to make a trade or something. He needs to do something for steals, or he's just going to punt the category completely. He's also going to punt strikeouts for sure. I mean, I don't think there's a guy on his team that's not projected for under 100 Ks aside from Perez. And that's just because he doesn't play all the time. He's a catcher. with that said, his infield is spotty at best. I do like the Bryant and Singer combo, but surprised he took Matt Carpenter, knowing the kind of guy he is. I didn't know he was a fan of Carpenter. And considering how he sold out on offense in this draft, I'm surprised he didn't wind up with more values and a better offense. Instead, he just went all power, all runs, and all RBIs. And I'm just not a fan. These high power kind of guys. They tend to carry high strikeout rates and low averages. So I'm not crazy about it, to say the least. But we're gonna go to the pitching. I just don't like it. I mean, Carlos Martinez is his ace, and I mean, you got to do better, man. You can't just sacrifice your pitching and hope to hit on high upside guys. It doesn't work all the time. I mean, I do like his later picks. I think he got solid value later in the draft, though, so I will give him that if we're going to give him some saving grace. But Carpenter cannot be your ace. You got to do better. There were so many aces out there. There had to be 20 pitchers who I could have taken easily, and I would consider an ace, including Felix in that discussion, and you settle for Carmart, Verlander. I love the Jaime Garcia pick. Don't get me wrong, that's one of my favorite pitchers. Do not like Anibal Sanchez. I do not like Kevin Gausman this year. I do not like Mike Fiers when there's 6 viable starters when they're healthy in Houston, so we don't even know how that's going to turn. I do like the Mike Leake going to St. Louis pick, so don't get me wrong. There are a few later picks that you made that I do like for sure. But I don't know what you're doing with Glasnow and Wheeler, who aren't going to pitch to start the season. So that's going to be interesting to see how you work that out. But just another example of why you don't know baseball when we look at it, and why I give you shit so much. You went with 2 high power kind of guys who could hit 40 home runs right off the bat, but who strike out 1 million times a season. And when you go with Stanton and Bryant, Blackman follows a trend of high strikeout guys, but he'll steal a couple bases. But the way your team's rostered, I don't know why you take him there when you had could have got easily a starter or Marte. I just don't know how much I like that Blackman pick. And then you go right to Sano, who unless he plays in the outfield, he's not going to play third base because they have Plouffe out there. Maybe he'll play some first. Who knows why? But right now he's a DH eligible. He's eating out your spot, your util spot. The same reason why I give the fielder pick a bad rap. I just don't like it. I mean, you took Sano right before fielder. You probably forced Gus's hand in that. But I just don't like those picks that early for a guy who can only play one spot, and then that puts you in a bad spot. You took Carpenter in the 5th. I have no quarrels with that. I was surprised at knowing how he sacrificed power for average last year, so I was surprising. But it fits the mold of your team. I give you that. Corey Seager, I like in the 6th round. Hosmer in the 7th, I actually like that pick. He doesn't fit your profile. A guy that would have been better to probably would have been a Duda pick, one. But considering where he went, I can't give you crap for that. But a Mitch Moreland guy would have been better for your team. I don't like the Hosmer pick there, considering the makeup of your team. Your first pitcher off the board goes in the 8th round. I like the value 100%. I think he fell to you. So I do like the Carmart pick. Hunter Pence, if he comes back, Corey Dickerson, a lot of risky toward the back end of your outfield, but I have no problem with those players where you have Pence, Dickerson, Calhoun, kind of similar guys, The Perez in the 12th, I give you analysis when you took the pick, how much I didn't like it. Verlander the 13th, no problem. Walker in the 14th, I probably would have took. I like that pick. I can't fault it where you took him. No problem whatsoever. Jaime Garcia 15th, still. Fire's a little high, but that's nitpicking once again. You filled out your rotation at the back end. I love the Glasnow pick, but I just don't know what you're doing with him and Wheeler. Wheeler will probably be placed on the DL, but then you're eating a bench spot where you only get 3 with Glasnow, so I just don't see it. If I give this draft a grade, it's going to have to be a B-. I know what you're doing. You're going for the home runs, the runs, RBIs. You're trying to lock that up every week. You try to steal a couple of pitching categories, maybe 3, similar to what you did last year. Not too much different. You went all off. You have a solid offense, but you got to get more steals, and you're counting on base and average. So we got to see what you're going to do with that. I'm not crazy about your team. My projections, the website I go to that for are not crazy about your team either. But all in all, it was a unspectacular draft. Um, Not to shit on you, it's nothing personal. Once again, I just don't like the team you assembled. But I like the fact that you did stick to a format. You got some good value in pitching late. If I give you a best pick, it'll probably be the Cartmart in the eighth. That's a steal. I would have thought he would have went 6 or 7 the way people love him this year. The Sano I can't give you a hard time about. I actually don't think you actually had a bad pick, to be honest, considering the value. I just don't like that Sano pick, just because it eats that one roster spot. But considering where he was going, it's not a big deal. So we'll give you a B minus, right on the borderline of playoff spot probably this year. But you'll probably work some magic, make some moves. You're an active owner, so we'll see where you go. Good luck to you the rest of the season, man. And we're gonna head to the next one. All right, guys, we're on preview number 7 now, and that's gonna go to Gil's champ killer, who is Gil Vega. We're gonna look at this squad. I actually think it's an average team, so it fits just in line with the kind of guy he is. His first pick, obviously, a slight right at me, taking my first 2 guys that were mainstays of my team last year, Mookie and Arenado, but I definitely absolutely love those guys, so I'm be a little biased toward him with those picks. Absolutely no problem with that. Looking at his offense, man, I really don't see any problem with it. I'm not a fan of the Andrus pick, but I know Andrus went you late, so I can't even give you shit for that, Gil. I like the upside. I mean, you got Santana late. This was a guy that was going there every year in the 10 rounds, right around number 10 in the 10th round, and you got him pretty late considering where you got him. Will Myers really late. Absolutely love that pick. He gives you a little flexibility. He could play first base and outfield, and I think if he stays healthy, he's been a little brittle, but he could be a big-time player. Your outfield has a lot of potential. Gomez coming back from last year. He had a really off year, but I think you got him pretty good value considering you're the first-round pick, second-round pick a year ago even. Nelson Cruz, probably wouldn't have done that myself. I think the jury's out on him. I think you took him too early, but we'll go more into that. I think you got Alex Gordon a great value, and if Zuna comes back well, probably a good team. Not a bad offense, no problem. Like I said, average. Pitching wise, Price, Wainwright. I don't know how I feel about Wainwright. He was my boy 2 years ago. Really carried my staff, but we just don't know where he is. After last year and the year before that, he had a lot of injury problems. He's getting older. He's not the same pitcher. I got to see where he is. I'm not sure where you take him, where the industry was taking him is the correct value, but we will find out. The Salazar pick, no problem with that. Iglesias, I absolutely love him as a sleeper this year. I think you got a great value with that, but I hate the Samardzija pick. I mean, I think anybody who had Samardzija last year, you know who I'm looking at. Horrible pitcher. Not a fan at all. Kazmir is throwing he's throwing in the 80s in spring training. So we'll see how that works out with that. James Shield late, good pick. Kennedy and Bauer, they're upside guys. No problem with that. Or you only have 2 closers with 2 good closers. Let me classify that. And Rosenthal and Story. And I'm not sure what you're doing there. If you're gonna play for saves, or you're just gonna play for wins. Maybe you're gonna pick another reliever up and then soon. You gotta figure out a strategy. You can't play in between there. Considering, let's look at your draft now. When we're looking at the draft. Great pick overall. I love Arenado. Don't know if I take him over Correa or for that matter Donaldson. Big reach there, but you know what? No problem. I mean, if you did it to trade with me, then you have a problem because I'm not going to trade with you because we all know you're not a good guy to trade with. But I do like the pick. Probably wouldn't have done it though myself. Mookie Betts in the second round, absolutely love him. He was the 9th ranked player on my board, so you could see how high I was on him. I think he's an absolute monster, and he's going to continue on the success he had last year. Going forward, Price 3rd round, no problem. Gomez 4th round. Like I said, he's a 2nd round pick a year ago, so you paid up a little bit, but considering where he was going, but I have no problem with that. considering his value. I don't like the Cruz pick in the 5th round. I don't think he was that good last year. I think that was mostly fluke what he did, and I think you're going to see some regression now for sure. Wainwright in the 6th, I just can't get behind that. I really can't get behind it. I think Lester was out there. A lot of good relievers were still out there. But he was the end of a tier if you consider it. So, but I just don't like the pick. I like the Rosenthal pick. Salazar, where you got him in the 8th round, no problem with that. That's right his value. That's a solid pick. But Samardzija, I'm gonna have to eat your lunch on, man. 9th round, can't convince me on that, man. That's right up there with my Jordan Zimmerman hate. Just can't stand it whatsoever. Quintana was still on the board 2 rounds later. I mean, Tanaka's out there, Waka's out there. Liriano, Richards, man, the list goes on, and you're taking this bump, Samardzija, man. I just can't. Lucroy, holding true to his value. He's a good player. Andrus in the 11th. I mean, the shortstop market was pretty dry. I mean, where it was projected by ESPN, I think you got a value there. Not my personal. I wouldn't have wound up on my team at all, but somebody had to take him. When you continue to look down, Addison Russell was a reach, but I think that depends where you value him. I had him kind of higher up in the second base tiers too, so I have no problem with that pick whatsoever. Drew Story in the 14th, that's an absolute value. I think he's going to return to his form. I think he's a better closer than reliever when he was in the setup role in Washington. I think he didn't like pitching at the end, so you throw those numbers toward the back end and you look at what he was earlier in the year, and definitely a top flight closer. Just looking at this Chris Davis late, James Shields late, Alex Gordon the 18th. This guy's a mid-round pick, and then he just fell. Santana 19th, man, absolutely love that. I don't understand it. I was gonna tell guys to take him earlier, but a great pick. Ian Kennedy going to Kansas City with that defense, man, love that pick too. Will Myers, man, you're absolute killed the end of the rounds. You finished strong, even though you claimed you were tired and you couldn't wait to get out of there, but you killed it. Just looking at an overall assessment of the picks, I definitely didn't like was the Nelson Cruz one, and Adam Wainwright, but back to back right there. Don't like the value. I think you could have did so much better in those picks. But I think you made up for it at the end of the draft when you picked my boy Santana, Gordon, Shields, Kennedy. Those are all great, and Will Myers. I mean, your last couple rounds, I think you absolutely murdered it, and I think it's going to give you a chance to compete for a playoff spot. I think it's an average draft. Average would be B, so that's what I'm going to give you. I mean, I think that's what you are, man. You're average. Every year you find a way to make the playoffs some way, come hell or high water. So keep up the good work, Gil. If you want, I'll definitely take Arenado off your hands for a solid offer. But no trade rape over here. Keep up the good work, Gil. Good job. All right, guys, back again here, and this is the Metro Boomin' Don't Trust You. Weird name there. But this is Andres' team. When I look at this team, my projections, they don't like him. They actually have him 11th. So that's not me. That's so I'm going to do an in-depth analysis of it. I think I said that I didn't really like this team when I looked at them, to be honest. Just don't like Adrian Gonzalez, but he's consistent. He's one of the top 10 first basemen, so I have no problem with it. I mean, I just don't like him. You got Donaldson as a steal in your first-round pick, so awesome to you. But the Bogaerts pick, man, absolutely. I didn't like him to begin with. I had him and Lindor, two guys I didn't like at shortstop, but you absolutely reached on him. The Seager pick I wasn't crazy about either. We know what he is. He's boring, but I'd never cared for him much of the player. You must be a Met fan with the Conforto and Granderson pick for sure. I like the Peralta pick. I like Lorenzo Cain. I think your offense is it's solid. You might win steals alone because you have D. Gordon, but that in itself, that's a high risky pick too. A lot of people are the jury's out on him, so to speak, of his BABIP. I think he'll be fine, to be honest, but I'm just not sure how much I like it. Your Remar pick. Not a fan of it where you took him. We'll get into more on that later, but he's going to start the year on the DL for sure. And you have a few DL guys. I think Gaddis is going to start the year on the DL as well. So you have a few things to watch out for. Pitching wise, man, I think he got murdered on pitching. I can't say there's a lot to like here. Um, there's not enough pitching on your team for one, but when you look at it, Garrett Cole's a good ace. Yeah, I like Quintana, but I mean, there's not much depth. Excuse me. Jared Eichhoff is one of your starters. I mean, look at that in itself. He's your sixth starter. You have Dickey as your fourth. I mean, Norris is your fifth. I mean, that's horrible, man. Probably the worst pitching staff I've seen so far. I like the Chapman pick where you got him and Allen and Doolittle, but Doolittle is, he has a little tenderness in his arm. I mean, coming off of last year, we're just not sure. And he did sign Ryan Madison, so we're not sure where that's going to turn out with the Oakland situation. And Chapman's going to be gone for a month, so you got a few players that aren't going to touch the field for a while. So I just don't understand certain things you did during your draft. But with that said, we're going to go into the actual draft and see what you did here. Donaldson, like I said, absolutely love it. He fell right into your lap and you pulled the trigger right there. You didn't let Correa or Altuve, take him away from you. So awesome job. D. Gordon, I think Mookie Betts was still on the board. I mean, there was a plethora of players I would have taken before him, but that's just personal preference. But I have no problem. But man, I just don't get this third round pick, man. I don't get the Bogaerts pick. He wouldn't have went pick. He would have lasted to the fifth at least. I just can't say that I see why you did it. I don't even think he would have went before. He's right in the class with Seager and Lindor, and you're taking a shortstop. I think you jumped on the position scarcity way too much. Calling the fourth, no problem. Probably, with the way pitchers were going, I can't give you crap for that. I like the Lorenzo Cain pick, right in the run of outfielders. Adrian Gonzalez in the sixth. I mean, that's no problem. This is where the guys are going. I like the Peralta pick in the eighth round. I think you got average value where they're going, compared to the average draft position, and in total of everybody else's rankings too. I have no real problem. I think Aroldis Chapman could be the best reliever in the game. I think you take a good chance on him. I love Quintana in the 11th. Like I said, when I'm looking at your draft, I don't really have any problems with the value you got because it's average value. I don't think you won, but I don't think you lost. If you know what I mean. I think even a mass pick wasn't that bad. That's where he's going. Conforto might have been a little early, but you're a Met fan and you want to root for the players you see on the field. So I can't give you crap for that either. I mean, there's solid picks. But to take Crawford in the 17th when you take Bogaerts in the third, I don't get it because if I'm drafting somebody in the third round pick, I need them to be on the field, bar none. They're not gonna. I don't need a backup for him, no matter how good Crawford is, unless you're looking to trade. But I just don't see that. Absolutely love Justin Turner in the 18th. I think you got a steal there. Doolittle in the 19th, ain't bad either. V Mart in the 20th. Like I said, he's gonna start the season on DL, but he might come back, be a top 50 option overall. So you don't know. I don't have a problem with that. Just filling out your rotation at the end, man. You just punted pitching. You got to do something pitching wise. That rotation is not going to survive in the league, even a league this deep. It's just not going to work. So with that, I'm going to give you a C minus. Actually, I do not like your draft. It's nothing personal. Once again, I know I barely know you. I think you're a cool guy. When I was talking to you yesterday. Your first round pick was probably your best. I do like the Quintana pick. I do like the Justin Turner pick, probably in the 18th, probably one of your best. Probably one of my favorites of the draft when we recap it as a whole. But I can't get over that Bogaerts pick, man. I think that sent you back a long ways. And I just, it's not my kind of team. So I think my biases are taking over here. But the projections are what they are, and they say the same thing that I believe, that you just don't have a good team, and that's why I'm giving you the grade you give. But best of luck to you this season. Definitely open the trade in if you want to. I'll take a few players off your hands. Maybe we could work something out to help you improve both of our teams. With that said, got to do more, man. Got to do more. I don't know if this was your first rodeo, but we'll see how the season turns out. But for right now, I just don't see you as a playoff team. On to the next. All right, guys, so we're at number 9 now, and that's going to belong to to Clutch, which is the name of Antonio's team. Now, looking at this team, I think my projections have it as the #1 offense and the #4 overall team because he went so heavy on offense. This is one of the best offense. He went back to the well with McCutchen. His offense his outfield, is absolutely monstrous. We'll just recap it right now. McCutchen, Springer, Martinez, Upton, Braun. If you win the league last year, Tone's team had Tone and Darvish's team, but we'll call it Tone's team for right now. Had one of the best offenses, and they were absolute mashers. That's even without Donaldson. And this team has definitely got some pop, and it's following that same format that they found last year to be successful, even though they finished 4th, which is ironic considering that's where they're projected this year. Absolutely, think this offense is gonna be toward the top of the league, if not the best in the league, for sure. There's enough speed mix in there. I think there needs to be a little more considering some of the teams that I've seen. That's somewhere to slacking when you're one of your best, but that depends on what Springer does. They do have a lot of 2020 guys. When McCutchen, Springer, Upton could potentially get there. Kipnis could get there. That's reaching, but in terms of their offense, I mean Miguel Cabrera, it's a great player. Their first 2 picks were awesome with McCutchen and Cabrera back to back. Considering the value, they're getting Pujols where they did. That was awesome to slot him in right at the infield. They're saying he's going to be ready to start the season, so no problem with that. Evan Longoria at third base is solid, but it's unspectacular, but it's definitely a solid pick. They didn't take a pitcher to the 8th round, which is Cole Hamels. Looking at their pitching staff now, but I do like Hamels this year. I think he's due for a bounce back. People forget about him that he went to Texas, but we'll see how he does. Lariano, no problem. I would have taken Severino over Pineda, but that's my own personal opinion. He did get Houston Street and Andrew Miller for his closers, but like I said, Miller Ray isn't going to be a closer past 30 days, so we got to see what he's going to do with that, if he's going to punt the save. So there's still some options left for him to figure out. He got over to Rizzi. Darvish ain't going to be ready until June, and I think I expressed that to him. He didn't even know. Go figure. So we'll see. I wouldn't have taken 2 catchers, but considering you have 2 back-end catchers, you could drop one to free agency. Your probably catcher may not even be on the team, but I like the Derek Norris pick. Let's look at the overall draft that you had. 1, 2, McCutchen, Cabrera. Those guys were first rounders last year, so no problem with that at all. If Rizzo wasn't on the board, I'd probably take Cabrera, so I absolutely love that pick. Springer in the 3rd round, no quarrels with that. Martinez, Upton, I think you got good value in the outfield considering where they're expected to go, so you followed that trend. Even taking Braun, you just solidified that outfield right away. You didn't want to wait for the high upside guys. You just took what you knew, high power guys that are they're consistent from year to year and have the potential to reach another level with Springer and a little bit maybe Upton, and you know what you're gonna get with them. Pujols in the 7th is a steal. I was surprised he was still on the board that late. I have no problem with you took it. That's one of the better value picks of the draft for sure. Taking your first pitcher and Cole Hamels in the 8th round, man, that's not going to do it though. I'm sorry, man. It's just not. It's not going to get it done for me. You got to do better than that. I mean, there was still some good pitchers out there. If what I'm looking at here, I believe you took him before Carlos Martinez and Tyson Ross. If I'm reading this correctly, so I don't understand it. But hey, to each their own. I do like the Liriano in the 10th. Like I said, you got Longoria, who's been like a top 60 player. Where he was drafted like last couple years. So get him in the 11th, no problem with that. Darvish in the 13th is going to be out for a little bit. That might actually that might give you time. You're going to wait on him and you're going to stash him on the DL if nobody else gets hurt. So there's a little risk involved in that, but I have no problem with that pick whatsoever. Continue down. McCullers is definitely an option to be better. Or to Rizzi, not bad value on him. You took Escobar where you did because there was nothing at shortstop. That's a guy I might have taken a round or 2 later. But I definitely like the pick there. Kendrys Morales, he could sit at your... he was a great player for Juan last year. I remember he took him to the to the playoffs because he was so good. So no problems with that. And you went for high upside toward the back. I mean, 2 catches in the last 3 picks. No problem with that whatsoever. But just looking at the pitching, man, that's going to be your downfall, if anything. You got to do better than Hamels as a starter. I mean, some of these rotations are really stacked when you look at it, but got to do more, man. But in terms of your outfit, your offense, definitely top 3 in the league for sure. Power bats galore on your team, but I think you got to do more pitching. If you're to compete this year, you got to do more in the pitching categories. I think that's going to be your downfall. You could also lose a few of those hitting categories, which could sacrifice everything for you. So I think you need to make a few moves, maybe a big move for an ace or something, or some reliever. Figure out a strategy that's going to work for you. But with that said, I'm going to have to give you a B-. I'm not terribly in love with the draft just because of the lack of pitchers you didn't get. You pretty much punted on pitching. If I look at one pick that I really did like, it probably has to be it's hard for me, man. I don't want to give you, McCutcheon. I don't want to give you that. Maybe the Longoria in the 11th. I mean, that's about it. There's a lot of picks. You got solid values at where they were, but maybe the Albert Pujols pick. That's one I overlooked. Yeah, that's a good one. Did not like the Alcides Escobar, but that's a late pick. Maybe the Andrew Miller where he went, but that was solid value. It's just overall it's a solid draft. It wasn't too great. It didn't blow me away. It's what you normally do. So that's why I'm going to give you the grade I did, and hopefully maybe I won't see you in the playoffs, so maybe that's not a bad thing. So that's your draft recap. We're going to go on to the next one now. Reach number 10 on our draft recap preview. When we look at it, we are on the Supreme Team, the new guy, Jay Cruz, because I really don't know his first name. With that said, this guy is an absolute clown. He's a great addition to the team. He makes me laugh. He makes me crack up. He actually has a personal vendetta against me and actually called my team and my draft shaky. But definitely brought some laughs to the team last night. So welcome aboard, all right? With that said, pretty solid draft. My projections have you 5th overall, finishing, and solid offense. It's built upon a solid offense. Up and down, your infield is pretty decent. I like the Altuve Encarnacion at the turn. We'll see if Encarnacion is in injury plague this season. I just don't know if that was the right pick at that spot, but I definitely like the Altuve in the 10th pick overall, so good pick on that one. I'm not a fan of the Schwarbs at all. I'm probably a guy who I would not draft in any league, throw that out there right now. But you have a solid offense overall with a lot of decent high basement kind of guys. I really do like Hanley Ramirez. I think you took him right before I was going to take him, so good pick on that one. Excuse me. Cespedes, a solid pick. Solid power in your lineup. I think you're a little short on the steals when we look at everything as a whole, but it's a solid offense. I think your outfield toward the back end isn't bad, and I think you did good on that Ortiz pick considering where the other DH only guys went. But then we get into the problem of your team, and that's the pitching, man. I like DeGrom. Felix, I'm not sold on this year, but after that, it's pretty dry. Not a fan of the Papelbon-Jansen combo whatsoever. The back end, the Miller, Gio, Teheran, Alex Wood, Volquez guy. Just not a fan of most of those guys. I mean, what they used to be is so much better than what they are now, and even if you hit on 1 or 2 of them, that's just not enough in this league. It's not going to get you by. Probably one of the worst pitching staffs. I mean, there are a few out there. A lot of guys punted on pitching this year, but just not a fan of the pitching staff, and I think your offense needs to look better with a pitching staff like this. With that, we're going to go into the actual draft that you had and analyze it. Like I said, I like the Altuve. Not a fan of the Encarnacion. When you had Cabrera right there, I think you take Cabrera right there. I think you take even Mookie Betts. I think you take Votto over Encarnacion. That's just personal preference, but I would not take an Encarnacion past anything earlier in the second. I would have waited to the 3rd. You got Jake DeGrom in the third, no quarrels with that. Cespedes where he's going. Schwarber in the fifth. I mean, Schwarber was falling. That's where he's projected to go. I'm not saying I know I'm not a fan, but I think you got okay value on that. Hernandez, where you got him wasn't bad considering he was the last of that tier of quote unquote aces. I think your absolute steal happened when you took Ortiz in the seventh. That's he's going to have a great year. I'm convinced, and I think you got a good steal on him. You had a good deal right there in the seventh round, considering the other players taking around him. Not a fan of the Kinsler pick. Hanley Ramirez, I think I told you, I absolutely love that. I think he's going to return to form this year. Could be comeback player of the year. Brandon Belt, not a fan. I've been his fanboy for about 3 years. I'm finally off the boat. I don't understand how he's in the 10th round. Last year he's going in the 20. I don't understand the difference in values from year to year. People can't see him just changing from what he is. Now he's a consistent player. I just don't get it. Shelby Miller in the 11th. I mean, going to Arizona, that's a bandbox. Balls fly out of there. I just don't know. Considering where you took him, there was still some pretty good pitchers out there. I mean, Iwakuma was out there. Iglesias was out there. I think I said my love. Walker and Ventura. I think I take all those high upside guys over a guy who's pretty boring. And this really isn't that good, in my opinion. Pitcher you didn't get. You pretty much punted on pitching. With that said, give me a second. My only thing is playing. Sorry about that in the background. We're already 4 minutes into this, so we're not going to stop. Moustakas in the 15th, I actually do like that pick. I think you reached on Gio before him toward the end of the draft. I think you could have got a lot more value. I mean, I like the Reddick in the 21st. If there's one pick that I absolutely love, I think he's totally underrated. But just don't like that pitching stuff. If I could give you a high five on a pick, I give you the David Ortiz pick. But if there's one I'm going to eat your lunch on, it's Shelby Miller for sure. Brandon Belt, I just don't like those guys where they were going in comparison to other players you could have got at that spot. I'm gonna have to give you a C, man. I mean, nothing personal like these drafts rankings. I tell that to everybody. I'm just not a fan of your team, even though it told me you're going to finish fifth. Maybe you're seeing something I don't, but it's just I think the pitching is going to hold you back. There's some other bad pitching stats, but I think when you go up against the best, you're gonna falter, you know. And you got to find a little more offense for a pitching stat that's not that good. But all in all, welcome to the league. Definitely open to trade in. Definitely open to talking shit. Since you already picked me to come after, and maybe not your smartest move. But good luck the rest of the way, and going on to the next one. All right, the 11th, and well, I'm gonna do a one for myself. So not final, but X and G's team Springer got dinged. I think that name's gonna change eventually. But with that said, these guys have really fallen down at my hands. I've been personally responsible for their destruction. I feel firsthand, and I think they feel the pressure every year. Every year they have to deal with me. They must hate me already. So we're going to look at this team. I want to start with the pitching, actually. I love the pitching, guys, man. Great picks. Greinke, Syndergaard, Gray, Stroman, Richards, Iwakuma. You guys murdered it in pitching. And I just want to give you a big thumbs up right from this guy. I think you did a great job. I don't know what the hell you did with relievers with Cishek and Boxberger, but you got to get your shit together on that one. But even at the back end with Ross and Jesse Hahn, man, awesome. And John Lackey, man, you guys killed the starters, all guys that I like. I think I've expressed my love for Garrett Richards before. Stroman's a steal. He's going to start opening day for them. Got 3 aces. Sonny Gray is absolutely an ace in my book, and that's just no bias. Outfield wise, you got a lot of sleepers, man. I think you stole Chris Davis where you got him, considering where a lot of people reject him. I have him in the 7th round, but that's not me. But I know where the industry has him, and you got him late. I love the D'Arnaud pick, the D'Arnaud, excuse me. You got Stinky for second, man. That's awesome. Jun Ho Gan for I would have liked him rather the shortstop, but considering you have the best shortstop in the game in Correa, great pick, man. He felt he had 11, and I think you had to steal him there. I don't like the Brett Laurie pick, man. I just don't see it with that guy. He's a bum, and that's not an Oakland A bias. This is not a Toronto anything. I just don't see it. I love the Batista Ellsbury combo. You stole Inciarte right from under me, and you got Fowler, who I think is going to have another good year. Jock Peterson, you got to let the kid go, man. He's just not a good player. I think he's overrated, to say the least. But I think your pitching is what's going to carry you this year, and I think you're solid enough with high upside guys on offense to get it done. Looking at the draft, man, Correa at the 11th, man, this guy could have went 5th overall in my book. I absolutely love that pick. And then you came right back and you got Batista. Some of that my fault of my own, but I'm surprised you didn't take Mookie Betts where Batista was, but I can't fault you for the pick. And then you came back, you got Davis late in the 3rd. I mean, that's absolute steal. I have no problem with the pitchers you took in that pitcher run. You went 4 straight pitchers from 4 to 7 with Greinke, Syndergaard, and Gray and Stroman. I think you reached a little bit on Stroman, but hey, if you love the guy, you know he's not coming back, you're in an awkward position, you take him. You got a great sleeper in Rougned Odor, no doubt about it. I mean, some people love him he could have won the 5th round. I've seen him go as high. You waited on Ellsbury. I think you got a great value for a guy who's a 3rd round pick last year. Garrett Richards, man, absolute. Another pick I love. Actually, I have no problem with your draft considering that we were actually going against each other. But I think our strategies just did not, conflict as much as they normally do. So awesome job on that. I mean, you got Gong in the 11th, Iwakuma in 12th, Darno in the 13th. The picks go on and on. I think you absolutely killed it. John Lackey in the 16th. I know that's Alexis's boy, but that's even a great pick. Toward the end of the draft, wasn't crazy about the Eduardo Escobar, with your last pick. Cishek, I don't like. I don't like Laurie in the 19th, but you gotta fill the spots. Joe Ross in the 18th, man, thumbs up. I can't say enough about your pitching. Overall, man, we're just gonna look at the value. I think Garrett Richards is an absolute steal in the 10th round. Joe Ross in the 18th, I think where other pitchers were going. I think he could have easily been with the Walkers and the Ventura. I think he's that good, upside-wise. I absolutely love him, and I think the only bad pick maybe was the Stroman one, but you went a little early on him. And Gong, when you had a shortstop already, I think he's a better shortstop eligible player. But you could definitely use that in trade bait. I think 3rd base is a position you're going to be slacking at, but I have no big problems with this draft. My projections actually like you for 9th, but I definitely see you guys competing for a spot this year in the playoffs. You were dangerous last year. You just fell apart at the end. I think you'll be dangerous again this year. You guys are intelligent guys. You know how to draft. You know baseball. You know the sport, and I think you guys are going to compete every year. There's a reason why you won 2 championships back to back, and I give you guys kudos, and you're definitely one of the top competitions in the league. So, good draft. If I'm going to give you a grade, I'm going to give you a B. I mean, solid draft. It wasn't the best I've seen, but it's definitely solid. I love that pitcher rotation, and just figure out what you're doing with relievers, and I think you'll be set. But all in all, good draft, guys. You got the best shortstop in the league. Got one of the best pitching rotations in the league. Good luck to you guys. All right, for the last and final one, I guess we're going to look at my team. I don't even need to look at the damn computer to know what my team looks like. Many of you guys said my strategy was stupid. You criticized me, calling me drunk. I had a plan, guys. I had a plan. Yes, the rules are what they are, but I got beat actually in a league last year by a guy who had all these relievers, and the minimum innings pitch was actually 25 in that league, because it was a two-week league. So for that matchup, I believe it was 25 or 20. So he had to get those starters. I got murdered. I lost 3 categories. The standard 5x5. I got beat. And I won wins and strikeouts, but I lost WHIP, ERA, and saves. And I thought of that strategy. I was like, we're going to 12 teams. I think I could really pull this off. And I devised my whole strategy around that. When we look at my draft, yes, I have six relievers. One that's not a closer, but you could forgive me for drafting Dylan Betances, being one of the best relief pitchers, eligible players. He's as good as a starter, actually. I absolutely love my Rizzo Posey at the turn. I know Posey was a reach. You don't have to tell me that, guys. I'm well aware. I kind of think I should have maybe took Mookie Betts at that spot, but I wanted the position. I wanted to have the best player at one position, so I feel like I took that when I took Posey. And Posey helped me win the chip last year. I mean, I just think he's an all-around player. I'm a huge fan of the way he plays the game. He's easily, far and away, he makes the biggest difference at any position. Almost as big as Correa to the second shortstop, but not even Correa was the best shortstop last year. You got to remember that was Bogarts. Looking at it, I'm a big fan of Strasburg this year, man. I think he's going to win the Cy Young. I think it's a big comeback. If you look at what he did last year at the end of the season, man, this guy was vintage. He was on fire, and I love Fernandez. I mean, I know they're talking about limited his innings, but I think they're going to manage that earlier in the season. And it really doesn't affect my strategy too much. So having those two guys, two aces, two top-of-the-line Cy Young starters, I absolutely love that. Then you go get Kenley Jansen, Wade Davis. I mean, those two are elite of the elite. I was absolutely shocked in the 7th round that I got Adrian Beltre. It could not have worked out better for me, to be honest, when I looked at that. I mean, that was probably the most nerve-wracking part of my whole entire draft, because I absolutely love Adrian Beltre. I probably would have took. I was thinking about taking him in the 4th round. So you put that into perspective, and you look at what came off the board. I was absolutely shocked. Jorge took Franco where he did. I would have took Franco there. That's what I was getting in most mock drafts. So I'll take Beltre over Franco any day. And then I get Puig right after that, and I'm sitting pretty. I mean, I expected to get Brantley there, but get Puig as a added bonus because I don't have to worry about that injury risk as much, even though there's some off the field concerns and just the way he plays. But if he's on this year, that could be amazing value. Then I go get 2 more relievers of Robinson and Giles. Those are the top 5 guys, and the top 10 relievers, excuse me. Then I fill out. I love my Pedroia pick. I think I got excellent value. I mean, just compare the stats, take away the names. You look at the kind of player Pedroia is, man, that's a steal. I absolutely believe it, considering how good he is. He stays healthy. I don't see why not hitting in that lineup. I'm a big fan of Delino Shields, getting him in every league this year. I just think he's that good. I think he's that fast. This guy just stole 100 bases in the minors in one season. So just think about that. Big fan of the Piscotty, Gerardo Parra going to Colorado. I mean, I filled out my outfield at the end. Looking at the end, I get Panic. I get Peraza. Peraza is probably one of my favorite players of all time. He's literally the next Jose Altuve, and I really don't know how long Billy Hamilton's going to be out, but I can almost assure you that this guy's going to be starting in center field for Cincinnati come opening day. And lastly, I got a couple solid outside picks. I got Giolito. He comes up, man. There's going to be a lot of interest in him, so I'm looking to trade him when he comes up. He could sit on my roster. I'll let him sit there. He'll burn it. I'll let him marinate, in the minors, so to speak. And I got Trevor Story. I mean, he's an unknown. I mean, there's still some good shortstops just in case if Story doesn't win the job. So I'm not crazy upset that I got him last, in the second to last round. Is he my starting shortstop right now? Yes. Can I do worse? Not really, to be honest, compared to the crap that's out there. I can't believe Melky fell as late as he did. He's a solid, unspectacular player, but he'll fit the profile for my team. And I just love my team. I really do. I think I have a solid team. I have a team that I feel confident I can win the chip with right now. I'm projected second in the standings. You could take that for what it's worth at face value, but I really feel confident, guys. If you want to discuss it, man, just call me. If you have a problem with anything I said, of course, there's going to be discrepancies in what I believe and what you believe. If somebody wants to do a draft recap of what my team is, hey, so be it. Yeah, I mean, I put a lot of time and effort into making this whole draft recap. So I would actually appreciate that. Other than that, I'm going to end on a high note. Wishing everybody good luck this year. Try to take the belt that's right behind me away from me. I don't think you can. I don't think you guys are gonna. and I expect to win at least 12 games this year. Let's put that as the standard. Take it easy, guys. I hope you enjoy.